Now, Australians are lucky enough to have both excellent healthcare and freedom of religion. But what happens when the two come into conflict?
Patient X is a Jehovah's Witness. His religion forbids him from accepting the blood transfusion he needs to treat the cancer in his lungs, spleen and lymph nodes. And because at 17 he's legally still a child, the next stage of his life or death battle is happening not in hospital but in court. Australian law permits adults to refuse medical treatment for any reason. But when it comes to children's healthcare, the law's much less black and white.
If a parent wishes to make a decision that's to the direct disadvantage of that child, we generally feel comfortable in disallowing such a decision.
In most states, blood transfusions can be given without parental consent if doctors believe there's a danger of death without the treatment. South Australia and the Northern Territory allow parental consent to be bypassed only under specific emergency conditions. When X's medical team decided his chemotherapy couldn't continue without transfusions, the boy refused, saying he'd rip the IV out of his arm if necessary. Doctors were forced to ask the court to intervene. In most recent cases involving children of Jehovah's Witnesses, courts have ruled against the parents, but those children are usually under 10. X is just a few months short of 18, and he's asking the Court of Appeals to consider him an adult.
The progress from being a child to an adult who is assumed to be able to make any decision is a continuous one. So there are grey areas.
Lawyers for the hospital have suggested X's religious upbringing has, quote, cocooned him, so he may not be fully aware of his own best interests.
Clearly it's possible that such a young person will be able to make a mature, fully informed decision, but it's also possible that there would be circumstances in which it might be considered that that decision wasn't a free one and that it was the result of coercion.
X shares his beliefs with 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses around the world. When his birthday comes around in the next couple of months, do we really expect him to change his mind along with his age?
Dr. Brian Owler is New South Wales President of the AMA. Brian, this is a very tough case, but in your experience, how often does a patient's religious beliefs lead them to refuse a treatment that you guys know will save their life?
It actually happens very rarely. Fortunately, the issue comes up every now and again where people have various religious views and objections to various treatments, but the difficulty really comes around when we start talking about children and their ability to make decisions for themselves.
How much tougher is it for you when the patient is a child?
Well, it becomes very tough because not only have you got a child with a potentially curable illness that might be having their treatment denied, but you've also got a family in a very difficult situation that are facing potentially the death of a child. So the only cases that really go to court are those when you can be very clear about what the treatment outcome is likely to be. In my own experience, I've come across a child with a brain tumour where the family decided that they didn't want to go ahead and have post-operative radiotherapy because of religious beliefs, and realistically that treatment was only going to extend the life of the child by a very small amount, and so we didn't pursue that through the courts and we respected the family's decision. But if you have another situation where that treatment could actually save that child's life, the thinking is that they really shouldn't be held to the religious beliefs of their parents.
I mean, Brian, we're talking about this very calmly now, but I can imagine when these conversations are being had, emotions are running high, and it is, such a critical period of time, which makes it even harder.
Well, that's right. It often is a matter of months sometimes that you've got to, or even less, to act. And so that's why you have to consider very carefully the idea of going ahead with any sort of court action. But of course, all of us are just trying to act in the best interest of the patient.
Very tough situation, Brian. We appreciate your thoughts tonight. Thanks for your time.
That's a pleasure.
We have to take another quick break. Stay with us.